I'll be revising your excluded and enclosed spaces. Now we were doing the enclosed spaces we are done, which is bounded by ship's hull or fixed or portable partition or bulkhead by decks other than permanent movable awnings. And these three spaces were not enclosed spaces. So number one was a space within an erection opposite an end opening extending from deck to deck, except for the curtain plate of a depth not exceeding by more than 25 mm, and the depth adjoining deck beam such as opening having breadth equal to or greater than 90% of breadth. This one I'll show you again. This is your diagram here. This was the space, and this O is this is not included and C is included for or enclosed space. So if you have B by 2 of the breadth, half of the breadth extending here, there's an opening here on the side. This area is closed. This area is also closed. So this section, if the width of this section is greater than equal to zero point 0.9 of breadth, and the opening from this point is greater than equal to zero point 0.9 of the breadth, then this section will not be included in the calculation. This is figure 1. Similarly, if this is the opening here which is greater than zero point 0.9 of the breadth, and this section is supposed b by 2, the breadth, you have an enclosure here which is enclosed space. This is an enclosure here where the breadth from this point till the shell is less than 0.9 b. Then only till this edge will the space not be included. Rest all will be enclosed or included in tonnage calculation. So this will be enclosed. This will not be enclosed. So this was figure 1, and the figure 2 we have already done. Now we do figure 3. We'll do figure 3 and 4. Should the width of the space between arrangement become less than 90% of the breadth, only the space between the line of opening and the line drawn parallel through the point through which a thwart width becomes equal to or less than 90%. That area will be excluded from the volume of enclosed spaces. So we have done this section. Now we'll be doing this section, these two. These two can also be explained by this area. This area. A 3D diagram is given here. How your unenclosed space is their bulwark height. Similarly, how this will be taken into consideration. So if now this was the one which we had seen. This is B by 2 or 0.5 B. There is one more enclosed restrictions here. And the breadth between here to this point is less than 0.9 B. And this opening to this opening, because this is a little edge here, this opening to this opening is greater than 0.9 B. Then this up to this line only will be enclosed but excluded. So this will not be included in the calculation. This point, this area will not be taken in the calculation. Only this area will be taken in the calculation. So entire thing is enclosed, but this area will not be taken in calculation. So that is enclosed but excluded. The area in front will be taken. So this area from this point till this point inside will be taken for calculation. So that is a restricted end opening. Now we'll be coming to the next diagram here. The next diagram is these two diagrams. Here, this is converging at this point. So similarly, this point is getting converged at this point. This is a 3D diagram against 2D diagram. We'll explain with that. So in this diagram, if you see, this is 0.5b. Here there is no enclosure here, but this is open here. And this is less than 0.9b. So this breadth, up to this breadth, this will be excluded from calculation. Only this area will be taken into calculation. That is figure number 3. In figure number 4, a similar case is being made like this, converging at this point. So that is your like this only. And you have two enclosures inside, this one and this one. And the distance between this is less than 0.9b. So the distance between these two is less than 0.9b. The breadth here is 0.5b up till here. So if you draw a line parallel to this section will not be taken into calculations. Only this area will be taken into calculation. These two C areas will be taken into calculation. That is figure number 4. So this is the figure number 4. This area is not taken into calculation. The entire this one is taken into calculation. So the line drawn parallel here will not be taken into calculation. Now we're coming to figures 5 and 6. So when I'll just explain with the diagram, this you can read yourself. I'll explain with the diagrams what it is, and this I've already read, so I'll not read again. I'll explain the figures 5 and 6. Now in 5 and 6, now this area basically you have railings and or bulwark here. So these are areas separated here. I'll see if this diagram is there or not. Yeah, this is the diagram here. See this diagram, you'll understand much better. Now these are the areas which are covering. This area which is open. Either you can have a bulwark or a railing. So you can have a bulwark or a railing here. This distance between these two openings is greater than V by 2. And the distance between these 2 points, because certain area is covering. So you are making a line here, certain area is covering. This is greater than 0.9b. So from this point till this edge is greater than 0.9b. In this area, the covering is more. So this is covered up till here. Instead, this is covered only till here. This is covered till here. Now this is less than 0.9b. Under this is less than 0.9b. Now I'll come to that diagram. So this area, this is covered more. So this distance between this is 0.9b, which is less than this. This is more. This is greater than 0.9b. So this area will be included in the calculation. This area will be excluded in the calculation. This is b by 2. This is greater than b by 2. So I'm taking the help of the 3D diagram also to explain. So this area will be excluded. This area will be included. This area is included. But this area will not be included or excluded from calculations. Now we come to the next diagram here. So you have a separation of openings by a certain space. You have railing here or bulwark here, and then you have a hatch or erection here. And the distance between these two openings is greater than b by 2. The distance from this point to this point is greater than 0.9 b. This area is little more covered, so the distance from this point to this point is less than 0.9 b. Now, similarly, I'll show you this diagram also. This is b by 2. This is greater than b by 2. And the distance from this point till this point of the hatch is less than b by 2. Distance from this line to this line is less than b by 2. So you have a railing of bulwark here, railing of bulwark here. Distance between these two openings is greater than equal to b by 2. So this area will not be excluded. Now this area will be included here. This area will be included here. Why this is included? Because you have a hatch opening here. So that is becoming a cover here. So that this area will be included in your calculations, while this area will be excluded without the hatch or erection. So that was the diagram I've shown you, this one. The diagram I've shown you is this one. Now we come to the next diagram, is this diagram. You have a covering on top. The sides you have just torsions here. You don't have entire covering. This is open on both sides. So here, when it is open on both sides, this area will not be taken into consideration. That's figure 7. The explanation is given here. So space under overhead deck covering having no other connection in this space, provided the distance between that. So this area will be not taken into calculations. That is 7. So 7 is here or not? 7 is in the other diagram. I'll show you. The 7 is in your number. 7 is shown in this one. So this is a covered from above and below, but you don't have anything on sides. Enclosed space is covered from above and below, but it is open on the sides. So here this is that area. So h will be, this is the height. This h between them is not less than 2.5 feet. So that's 7, and then we come to 8. So this area, if it is like this will not be taken into calculations. In figure 8, one side is open, other side is closed. A thwart ship is closed, this side is closed, this side is open. Here h, this h is greater than h by 3, but not less than 2.5 feet. And if it is open like this will not be taken into calculation. If it is open only one side, other side it is closed, then b by 2 here sections, this section will be not taken into calculation, other area will be taken into calculation, where this is b by, this is the breadth. Then figure 9, if there is a cut here on the deck and the volume here will be excluded from the calculation. This is excluded space. That will not be taken into calculation. Similarly, you have the drawing. I have sent you all the drawings basically. ये वाला है, ऐसे वाला. So it is cut like this. So this will be excluded space. It will not be included. Then we have one more. You have an opening here, but this is longitudinally extending like this. Here you don't have any here you have opening which is coming up like this. So which one will be included, which is not included? This I by 2 is less than twice of this width. So this is not taken into calculations or excluded. Here your opening is only W1, length is L1. L1 is twice of W1. So this area will be included in calculation, that is enclosed, and this area will be excluded in calculations. Right, so I've done all your explanations now twice. So O is excluded space, I is space to be considered as enclosed space, and C is enclosed space. That's the norms given there. So I hope you understood now after explaining twice. So now we'll come to your other tonnages. That is your gross tonnage, net tonnage, that will be coming. So notes you can read for your remembrance and all. These notes are given to you. I've already sent to you these question and answer form.
Sir, what kind of question come in as per this one? Or
So
as
the
per
questions given here, these are the types which come. जो यहाँ दिया हुआ है ना उसी टाइप का है. अभी तो आपके करने हैं ना, मुझे क्वेश्चन आंसर तो करने हैं ना अभी. I'll be doing all your question papers, so you'll understand what kind of question. Yes, yeah, what is subdivision required for trunks in type A? So all these questions come. Can a load line certificate be cancelled? So these questions can come. What is load line exemption? When it is issued?
excluded and enclosed spaces are a bit confusing. And
अभी तक यार 2 बार समझा दिया, 2 बार तो समझा दिया यार. तुम डायग्राम से समझो यार, वो उसको पढ़ोगे तो नहीं समझ आएगा. पढ़ोगे तो कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे. तुम डायग्राम से समझो. तीसरी बार बाद में समझाऊंगा. ठीक है, तीसरी बार बाद में पहले मुझे खत्म करने दो सारा, फिर मैं समझाऊंगा. After you read something, you are going to forget everything I'm telling you. आप डायग्राम से ही समझो, रीडिंग से नहीं समझो. 2 बार तो समझाया भाई, कितनी बार समझाऊं उसको बताओ.
मैं समझ वो बोला उसमें क्वेश्चन कैसे पूछेगा एंड व्हाट वी हैव टू राइट
भाई विचार आता है कि विच आर एक्सक्लूडेड स्पेसेस, विच आर एनक्लोज्ड स्पेसेस, एक्सप्लेन विद डायग्राम्स. तो फिर आपको एक्सप्लेन एनी 4 एक्सक्लूडेड स्पेसेस बट एनक्लोज्ड स्पेसेस, फिर आपको 4 इंस्टेंसेस बना के डायग्राम बना के एक्सप्लेन करना. ठीक है, अब यहाँ 8 बनाए हैं ना. हियर वी हैव 8 काइंड्स. पूरे 8 नहीं पूछते, दे विल आस्क यू 4 5 ऐसे पूछ लेंगे. दे विल नॉट आस्क यू ऑल 8, क्योंकि यू कांट रिमेंबर ऑल 8. इट्स डिफिकल्ट टू रिमेंबर ऑल 8.
that's what I was saying.
नहीं पूरे 8 के 8 नहीं आएंगे. बट यू हैव टू प्रैक्टिस दीज डायग्राम्स, बिकॉज क्या है कि आपने सोचा कि किताब पढ़ ली हो गया, ऐसे नहीं होगा. आपको डायग्राम पढ़ के बनाना पड़ेगा, फिर उससे समझना पड़ेगा. देखो मुझे भी समझने में ज्यादा टाइम लगा, क्योंकि क्या है कि डायग्राम्स कंफ्यूजिंग है इफ यू डोंट रिलेट इट. थ्योरी कुछ और कह रहा है, मुझे तो इन पीसेस बिट्स मिला, तो मुझे तो किसी ने बताया नहीं. तो आई हैड टू रीड इन डिटेल 5 टाइम्स टू अंडरस्टैंड इट. किताब से पढ़ोगे तो बिल्कुल समझ नहीं आएगा. तो मुझे तो किसी ने एक्सप्लेनेशन दी नहीं, तो मुझे खुद ही डेसिफर करना पड़ा. डेसिफर करना आसान नहीं है. यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड. मैंने 2 बार समझाया फिर भी समझ नहीं आया, तो अगर किसी ने समझाया ही नहीं हो तो कैसे समझ आएगा. So there you have to concentrate on the diagram, see what the diagram is trying to tell you, and learn from there. Don't learn from reading that red areas. first understand the diagram and you make your own explanation. ठीक है, instead of reading, because once you read फिर आप भूल जाओगे क्या है. First you make diagram and then you make the answer rather than reading it and then making a diagram. उल्टा करो, diagram पहले बनाओ और फिर उससे लिखो. आया समझ? तो आपको रोज डायग्राम बनाने पड़ेंगे. 3 बार डायग्राम बनाओगे सब याद हो जाएगा. 3 बार बनाओ, 3 सारे डायग्राम्स उसके एक्सक्लूडेड इंक्लूडेड के, आपको सारा समझ आ जाएगा. लेकिन जब मोमेंट आप रट्टा मारना शुरू करोगे एक भी नहीं आएगा, ये ध्यान रखना. डायग्राम से ही आएगा. अब मेरे क्या थे, डायग्राम कुछ और लिखे थे, उसके जो नोट्स से नंबर से कुछ और थे. मैं कंफ्यूज हो रहा था क्या है ये क्या है ये, समझ नहीं आ रहा था. फिर मैंने एक एक चीज को रिलेट करके जिक्सॉ और पजल को ठीक किया, फिर आपको समझाया. अदरवाइज मेरे को समझ नहीं आ रहा तो मैं आपको क्या समझा. तो पहले मुझे अपने आप को समझाना पड़ा, फिर आपको समझाना. मैंने तो अभी शुरू किया ना पढ़ाना, पहले तो मैं नहीं पढ़ा रहा था. बट एक बार आपको समझ आ गया ना, देन यू विल नॉट फॉरगेट. ठीक है, तो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद टनेज, बिकॉज जब लास्ट टाइम था कि ग्रॉस टनेज नेट टनेज सबने उल्टा लिख दिया था. क्वेश्चन पूछा था ग्रॉस टनेज नेट टनेज, लोगों ने ग्रॉस रजिस्टर्ड टनेज और नेट रजिस्टर्ड टनेज के ऊपर लिख दिया. ओनली आई थिंक एक या दो ने ठीक लिखा था, बाकी सबने गलत लिखा था. So last time paper they are done very bad. Instead of writing about gross registered tonnage, your gross tonnage, अगर आता है एग्जाम में ग्रॉस टनेज तो आप ग्रॉस रजिस्टर लिखो तो 0 मिलेगा, क्योंकि ये ग्रॉस टनेज जो है वो कैलकुलेशंस पे है, नॉट एट बेसिस वॉल्यूम. तो अभी मैं आपको एक एक पॉइंट पढ़ाऊंगा. तो टनेज बेसिकली, क्योंकि इसके ऊपर 25 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन, सो यू कांट टेक इट लाइटली. व्हाट इज अल्टरनेटिव टनेज, व्हाट इज मॉडिफाइड टनेज, इट इज 25 मार्क क्वेश्चन आ जाता है. लास्ट अप्रैल में जो आया एमएमडी में, वो तो आया था 16 रिक्वायरमेंट्स एक्सप्लेन फॉर सब डिविजन लोड लाइन. वो अलग चीज हो जाता है, काफी डिफरेंट. तो इसलिए आई एम टेकिंग मोर टाइम फॉर यू टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस, बिकॉज इट कैरीज वेट. 25 मार्क्स का तो क्वेश्चन आता ही है, या तो टनेज पे आएगा या इसके ऊपर आएगा. 25 मार्क्स आएगा ही. ठीक है, अब आपका जो क्वेश्चन पेपर आता है उसमें से 4 स्टेबिलिटी का आता है, 4 शिप कंस्ट्रक्शन एंड टनेज का आता है ना. तो आई थिंक 9 क्वेश्चंस आर देयर, 8 यू हैव टू अटेम्प्ट. तो अकॉर्डिंगली 4 तो आपका स्टेबिलिटी आ जाता है, तो फेलिंग का इसमें चांसेस बहुत कम है, बिकॉज स्टेबिलिटी के 3 तो न्यूमेरिकल्स हैं, और अगर उसमें तीनों ने कर लिया फिर तो आपके पास हो गया, क्योंकि 50% ही पासिंग है, तो आपको 100 ही लाना है, वो तो आसान से आ जाएगा. तो डोंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट एनीथिंग, डोंट गेट वरीड. ठीक है, आप अपना वरी नहीं रखो. घबराओगे तो कुछ होगा नहीं, प्रैक्टिस करोगे हो जाएगा. ठीक है, जस्ट डोंट गेट वरीड, आराम से काम हो जाएगा. जस्ट डोंट गेट वरीड, बस, और कुछ नहीं. तो आफ्टर दिस ये सब हो जाएगा, देन आई विल डू योर पास्ट क्वेश्चन. तो आई विल नॉट गो इनटू द बेसिक्स, ये टन क्या है और ये सब क्या है, विल फ्लिप दिस. So tonnage is basically measure of ship size to be expressed in terms either in volume or weight. We'll not come to this क्या है और displacement क्या है, और ये सब तो छोड़ देते हैं, पुरानी चीजें वो छोड़ देते हैं. ये सब लिखने की भी जरूरत नहीं है, that's old business, उसको छोड़ देते हैं. Now we'll come to GRT and NRT. So gross registered tonnage पहले होता था, अब वो चेंज हो गया, इट्स ग्रॉस टनेज हो गया, जीटी एंड एनटी हो गया. So the measure of total internal capacity of ship consists of underdeck volume excluding DB, volume of twin deck spaces, volume of superstructure, volume of deck houses. Exemptions will include navigation spaces, galleys, stairways, lights and air spaces. So the total volume in cubic feet was divided by 100, and one gross tonnage was equal to 100 cubic feet. This was entered in your ship's register that time. अब तो चेंज हो गया. एंड आपके एक्सक्लूजन्स काफी थे, और हमारे टाइम में हमें तो याद करने पड़ते थे काफी लंबी लिस्ट ऑफ एग्जेम्पशंस. अभी तो छोटा है, हमारे टाइम में तो ये जीआरटी एनआरटी थी, तो हमको यही करना पड़ता था। बाकी मॉडिफाइड ऑल्टरनेटिव भी हमारे में था। अब आ गया है आपका ग्रॉस टनेज एंड नेट टनेज, जो कैलकुलेशन बेसिस फॉर्मूला. Now, net registered tonnage was a measure of capacity available for the carriage of cargo and spaces. So basically, net gross register was for the whole ship. Net was basically cargo carrying capacity. Earning capacity कहाँ से है? इसका मतलब आप कैसे कमा रहे हो, किस एरिया में कार्गो रख रहे हो, उसको नेट रजिस्टर कर रहे थे कि इस एरिया में पैसेंजर रख रहे हो, उससे कमा रहे थे. दैट वाज नेट रजिस्टर्ड टनेज. So the deductions from gross registered tonnage was included master and crew accommodation, safety, storage spaces, water ballast tank allowance for propelling machinery. ये सब include हो गया था. Result volume was cubic feet divided by 100. 1 ton was 100 cubic feet. That was your net tonnage or net registered tonnage. Then you had modified tonnage related to gross and net tonnages, where the ship was assigned greater than minimum freeboard under Loadline rules, where your second deck was treated as freeboard deck. Tonnage mark was placed on the side, जो हम बताएंगे आपको, वो आगे बताएंगे. So presently, with the amendments in 18 July 1982, new ships, they had gross tonnage and net tonnage, which came in force in 1994. For all ships excepting warships or ships less than 24 meters in length, or ships solely navigate in Great Lakes of North America and rivers St. Lawrence and Caspian Sea, the Plate, Parana and Uruguay rivers, उनमें ये exceptions थे. So gross tonnage was measure of the overall size, net tonnage was useful capacity. तो ग्रॉस टनेज आपके सोलस रेगुलेशन, मार्पोल रेगुलेशन सब जगह आते हैं, और ड्यूज ऑफ लाइट हाउस और कैनाल ड्यूज और पोर्ट ड्यूज, your gross tonnage is taking. Similarly, for tonnage of the shipping fleet company की, वो भी gross tonnage पे आती है. So gross tonnage is based on formula K1 into V, where K1 is a constant, which is in your booklet, stability booklet, you will have K1. V is the total volume of all enclosed spaces in cubic meters. Now we have done what is enclosed space. जो calculation भी लिया जा रहा है, that is enclosed space. That's why we had to see what is an enclosed space. So V was a total volume of all enclosed spaces in cubic meters, and gross tonnage basically is dimensionless. It doesn't have a dimension. It is not tons, because it's just a figure. It is not anything in volume, or it's not anything in weight. It is not a tonnage. It is a figure. It is a dimensionless entity. K1 is equal to 0.2. You have to remember all this. Gross tonnage में पूरा लिखना पड़ेगा terms. क्या है ये K1, what is NT, what is K2, ये सारा कुछ लिखना पड़ेगा. You can't just write a formula and हो गया, उससे कुछ मिलेगा नहीं. तो just be careful क्या लिखना है और क्या नहीं लिखना. लोग क्या करते हैं, वो एक लाइन लिख दे तो हो गया, ऐसे नहीं होगा. So K1 is equal to 0.2 plus 0.02 log to base 10 into V, whereas net tonnage is equal to K2 VC. K2 is another constant. VC is total volume of cargo spaces, not enclosed spaces, but only cargo spaces, into 4D. D here is molded draft amidships in meters, and capital D, 4D by 3D whole square. So capital D is molded depth amidships in meters. Molded का मतलब है depth of the thickness of the keel is not taken in both cases. Molded draft, molded depth, thickness of the keel is not taken. एम्बुलेंस की आवाज बहुत आ रही है आजकल पीछे. Every 2 minutes I am hearing ambulance noise. Plus K3 N1 plus N2 by 10. So N1 plus N2 by 10 आ गया. So N1 is number of passengers in cabin, not more than 8 berths. and N2 is number of other passengers, because agar passengers are less than certain numbers, you will take this figure as 0. We'll come to that. Number of passengers are less than 13, N1 plus N2, then this will become 0. So VC is the total volume cargo spaces in cubic meters. K2 is 0.2 plus 0.02 log base 10 into VC not V now. That was K1, this is K2. So you have a table, appendix 2 in the load line convention, or as per your loading, your stability booklet, you will have K2. K3 here is equal to 1.25 into gross tonnage plus 10,000 divided by 10,000. So that is K3. You have to write all this. N1 is number of passengers in cabins with not more than 8 berths. N2 is other passengers, which can be on deck or in other areas or other spaces. So N1 plus N2 is total number of passengers ship is permitted to carry as per passenger ship safety construction certificate. You can't carry more than that, obviously. And when your N1 plus N2 is less than 13, then this figure will be taken as 0. So you have to find net tonnage only because of this figure. So GT is your gross tonnage. That is in K3. The factor 4D by 3D whole square, this figure, shall not be greater than 1. You cannot take this 4D by 3D whole square more than 1. That is the terms here. You have to write all the terms when you define or whatever. You have to write all the terms. Terms K2VC into 4D by 3D whole square shall not be taken less than 25% of gross tonnage. And net tonnage will not be less than 0.3 gross tonnage. So these are the formulas which you have to write for gross tonnage and net tonnage. Have you understood this, or should I repeat? Have you understood this? ये तो मैं second mates में भी पढ़ाता हूँ, आपको तो समझना चाहिए अब.
Yes.
Second mate पढ़ाया था मैंने, तो आप लोगों को तो समझना चाहिए. अब तो चीफ ऑफिसर बन रहे, मैं तो सेकंड मेट को भी पढ़ाता हूँ. इनफैक्ट मैंने पढ़ाया था तो मुझे डांट पड़ गई, क्यों पढ़ा रहे हो. तो आप लोगों को तो समझना चाहिए. अब आ गया समझ? कोई डाउट तो नहीं है? ठीक है. पर एग्जाम में फिर गड़बड़ क्यों करते हो? यहाँ यस सर बोलते, वहां जाके नो सर हो जाता.
याद तो करना पड़ेगा ना फिर.
तो शुरू तो करो, कब करोगे? हैं? अब कोरोना करते रहोगे तो कभी कोरोना ही होगा. कोरोना का मतलब कभी नहीं होगा. तो करो ना, अभी तो करो, है ना. वो करो ना, भूल जाओ, ये करो ना, मतलब पढ़ाई करो. So the gross tonnage and net tonnage figures determined by the formula are quoted on ship's international tonnage certificate. So ton is no longer applied since gross tonnage, net tonnage are dimensionless. So it's no physical unit of tonnage. Hence tonnage is expressed as gross tonnage of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. तो इसके आगे metric ton नहीं लिखते हैं. ठीक है. So the register is to be omitted. Hence terminology was gross tonnage and net tonnage. तो ये सब आपका freight tons और वो सब displacement tons क्या क्या है, light weight tons, will not do that. सब आपको पता है, इसको आगे करते हैं. फिर आपका पनामा कैनाल टनेज पे आ जाते हैं. पनामा कैनाल टनेज was on 1st October 1994 comparable to tonnage determined by IMO. Tonnage stated in the Panama Canal tonnage certificate are therefore identical to quoted in international tonnage certificate. Then you have got Suez Canal tonnage. That is different from all tonnage based on the old Bursum system of tonnage, जहाँ वो 100 cubic feet के बेसिस में वो अभी तक ग्रॉस स्विस कैनाल टनेज में चल रहा है. There is apparently no immediate intention to change the basis under Suez Canal Authority rules. So the tonnage stated on Suez Canal tonnage are therefore different from international tonnage certificate. Then you have a limitation tonnage. That tonnage is used to determine your limit of liability on ship owner. That is your owner, charter, manager, or operator or salver. Where you have a act or neglect or default of ship owner or salver. So the insurer, in respect of loss of life or personal injury or loss of damage to property, लॉस ऑफ डैमेज टू प्रॉपर्टी आपकी एलएलएमसी में आती है. अब एलएलएमसी इज लिमिटेड लायबिलिटी ऑफ मैरिटाइम क्लेम्स. ये आपने पढ़ा है कि नहीं पढ़ा है? ये तो मैं सेकंड मिनट में पढ़ाता हूँ. आप लोगों ने पढ़ा है कि नहीं पढ़ा है? एग्जाम्पल दूं? एलएलएमसी का एग्जाम्पल दूं क्या? चलो आपको एक एग्जाम्पल देता. आपके जहाज एक टैंकर है, ठीक है. फॉरवर्ड स्टेशन में चीफ ऑफिसर है और बोसन वोसन खड़े हैं, और वो जहाज अलोंग साइड आते आते एयर किक उसकी फेल हो गई, ठीक है. तो जेटी को बैंग किया. एक बगल में गैंट्री क्रेन थी, वो गिर गई, उससे 2 बंदे मर गए. और फॉरवर्ड में चीफ ऑफिसर को चोट आई, बोसन को भी चोट आई. अब ये आप बताओगे, मैं आपको आंसर नहीं बताऊंगा, आप मुझे बताओगे बाद में कि जो जेटी में क्रेन गिरी और उससे 2 बंदे मरे, वो किसके अंडर आएंगे, और जहाज पे जो चीफ ऑफिसर को चोट लगी और बोसन चोट लगी, वो किस क्लेम में आएंगे? हाँ बोलो. आप लोग तो लॉ पढ़ते हो, चीफ ऑफिसर लोग हो. मैंने एएसएम में पूछा तो उनको भी आंसर नहीं आया, और मैं सेकंड मेट्स को पढ़ाता हूँ यही चीज. एएसएम का क्लियर हो गया था सारा सारा, उन्होंने कोर्स कंप्लीट कर लिया, तो उनको यही क्वेश्चन पूछा, उनको नहीं आया, किसी को भी नहीं आया एएसएम में. अब आप मेट्स बन रहे हो, आपको कितना आता है हमें समझ आ जाएगा. बताइए. कुछ पल्ले नहीं पड़ा.
सर चीफ ऑफिसर जो है सर, वो तो इंश्योरेंस P&I क्लब देगा.
और ठीक है, और जेट्टी पे जो बने वो कहाँ से आएंगे, वो कौन देगा?
तो उसमें फिर वो इन्वेस्टिगेशन होगा, तब उसके बाद में.
फिर उसके बाद जयराम जी की हैं, खत्म
उसके
हो
बाद
गई
सर वो
बात.
कोर्ट में जाएगा, उसमें डिसाइड होगा किसका कितना लिमिटेशन है, कौन कितना पे करेगा.
वो लिमिटेशन किस में आएगा ये पूछ रहा हूँ, कौन से क्लॉज में आएगा?
क्लॉज नहीं पता सर.
हाँ तो फाइंड आउट करो. ठीक है भाई, हमारा
दो
क्वेश्चन है
अगले में
फाइंड आउट है, फाइंड आउट. अब आपको ये फाइंड आउट वाला क्वेश्चन पूछा, अब मैं आंसर नहीं बताता. आप तो बड़े भयंकर लोग हो, लॉ वाले हैं, लॉ वाले बंदे हो, ऐसे में जाने वाले हो, उसके बाद चीफ ऑफिसर बनने वाले हो. चलो आगे करते हैं. ये आंसर मैं नहीं दूंगा अब, ये आंसर आप मुझे बताओगे. कहाँ से ढूंढोगे, किसको पूछोगे, पूछ के बताओ. अगर यही ओरल में पूछा जाता तो क्या करते हैं? क्या करते? हवा खाते?
सर आपको कॉल 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 करते.
हमें कॉल करते. वाह 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 वाह, क्या बात, वाह. हमारा नंबर ही नहीं पता, कॉल कैसे करोगे? नंबर पता ही नहीं है तो कॉल कैसे करोगे? वैसे ऐसा है, मेरा नाम टाइप कर लो गूगल में अभी, कैप्टन अजयपुरी टाइप कर लो, मिल जाएगा. कर लो. तो दिक्कत होगी तो हमें पूछ लेना. ठीक है, आगे करते हैं. तो ये आंसर मैं बाद में आपसे, जब आपके ओरल्स होंगे ना, तब मुझे याद करना इस क्वेश्चन पे. आगे बढ़ाता हूँ. चलो बेटा, ऐसे ऐसे क्वेश्चन मैं पूछ लूंगा ना, हवा हवा निकल जाती है और तोते उड़ जाते हैं, बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है. तो ये जो टनेज है आपके हार्बर ड्यूज में होगा, पायलट ड्यूज में होगा, लाइट ड्यूज में होगा. लाइट ड्यूज पता है ना क्या होता है? लाइट ड्यू, व्हाट इज लाइट ड्यू? लाइट ड्यू क्या होता है नहीं मालूम? चीफ ऑफिसर बन
सर
रहे हो
लाइट
बेटा?
हाउस ड्यूज ना,
लाइट
लाइट हाउस
हाउस
ड्यूज
ड्यू
है ना।
यार तुम लोग यार
हाँ
मतलब एकदम आपको प्रॉम्प्ट
सर
होना चाहिए।
पता है।
लाइट ड्यूज का मतलब समझना चाहिए। लाइट ड्यूज और लाइट हाउस ड्यूज और क्या। कैनाल ड्यूज पता है, एजेंसी
हाँ
फी,
सर, लाइट
टोएज,
हाउस।
राइट ऑफ पता है ना बेटा। ओरल के टाइम भूल जाते हो ना, इसलिए याद
हाँ सर।
रखो। अभी जो बात हो रही है ना दिमाग में, उसको स्टोर करते रहो। लिखो नहीं, स्टोर करो, क्योंकि ओरल में काम आएगा। ओरल में चाहे कितना लिख लो कुछ समझ नहीं आएगा, लेकिन उस टाइम क्या दिमाग चलेगा वो मेन वही है। प्लस आपके जो सोलस के क्राइटेरिया हैं, क्योंकि इससे बड़ा जहाज है। मार्पोल के क्राइटेरिया हैं, जितने क्लेम्स के क्राइटेरिया हैं, STCW, MLC, इन सब में, इवन योर मैरीटाइम क्लेम्स, CLC, बंकर क्लॉज, सब में आपका ग्रॉस टनेज नेट टनेज होगा। डेड वेट एक जगह आएगा, पता है किसमें आएगा डेड वेट? ओपा 90 में ग्रॉस टनेज नेट टनेज नहीं चलता, वहां डेड वेट चलता है। ओपा 90 मालूम है क्या है? व्हाट इज ओपा 90?
ऑयल पोल्यूशन है।
हाँ, किधर होता है? विच वाटर्स?
US।
US में। तो कौन उसका एनफोर्समेंट एजेंसी कौन है?
यूएस
एनफोर्समेंट एजेंसी कौन है उधर? PSC होता है क्या?
USCG।
USCG।
यूएस कोस्ट
यूएससी।
गार्ड में जितना भी एनफोर्समेंट होता है वो US कोस्ट गार्ड करता है। आपको एक और चीज पढ़ना पड़ेगा, वेसल रिस्पांस प्लान। ठीक है, ये सारे क्वेश्चंस आपके ओरल्स के हैं। व्हाट इज VRP, वेसल रिस्पांस। वैसे सेकंड मिनट में भी पूछ लेते हैं आजकल तो। व्हाट इज VRP क्वेश्चन सेकंड मिनट में आया हुआ। अब हम आते हैं व्हाट इज मॉडिफाइड टनेज। ठीक है, तो मॉडिफाइड टनेज एंड ऑल्टरनेटिव टनेज, ये प्री सी में भी था। ये वाला एक टनेज मार्क था, ये मॉडिफाइड टनेज का है। तो ये आपका टनेज है, और दिस मार्क इज ऑफ मॉडिफाइड टनेज। I'll just come to that. What is modified tonnage? So sometimes the ship owner may find that the cargoes rarely submerge your normal load line. So this would be case in a light bulky cargo or with livestock or low density cargo, which can have a low dead weight. So he can apply to the authorities with the load line to be marked lower than the side of the ship, and calculations from the distance from the load line to the deck freeboard are made with a reference to the second deck above, usually for general cargo vessels. So this is greater than the minimum freeboard under the load line convention. One advantage is you can have lesser scantlings or standard dimensions of structural components on the vessel. So the ship's tonnage is measured with this time, excluding the space between your second and upper deck. So naturally you will have a lower registered tonnage, which is modified tonnage, because आपको ड्यू कम देने हैं, तो आपने एक modified tonnage लगा दिया, जिसके कारण आप ड्यूज कम देंगे. So this was introduced in 1967 because the problem of shelter deck came up. So that resulted in a tonnage mark placed on the side of the ship. So traditionally, general cargo vessels of 1950 and 60, they had 3 island type, that is midship accommodation hota tha, raised forecastle hota tha, accommodation on poop deck also. So spaces on deck between the structures were exempted from tonnage measurement, but could be used for cargo. So the owners carried cargo in these wells, protected them by awnings and other shelters, and gradually they became more permanent. Then these places were totally enclosed with permanent deck above. So these spaces were known as shelter deck spaces. How to maintain the fiction that the space above the original upper deck was still open, the shelter deck spaces were interconnected by opening and small tonnage hatch at the after end of the ship led to the shelter deck space. So the tonnage hatch could not be permanently or substantially covered. This led to the concern of safety of the vessels. For example, if there was a fire or flooding, the danger could spread from one end or the other without hindrance. So the tonnage mark was introduced to encourage ship owners to close all these tonnage openings and restore the vessel's integrity without being penalized by having shelter deck space included in the vessel tonnage. So this was not popular with port because they were getting less revenue based on this tonnage. So for modified tonnage, the space between second deck and above, from above and the upper deck is not included in tonnage measurement. Where these tonnage apply, a tonnage mark is placed on the side in line with the deepest load line. The tonnage mark functions as badge rather than a level to which the vessel be loaded. So this is your modified tonnage. So इस mark के ऊपर यहाँ mark तक हम load कर सकते हैं. That is a modified tonnage. So this is a modified tonnage mark. So because your plimsoll mark के आगे आपका tonnage mark आएगा, this is your starboard side. Modified tonnage mark will be aft of the plimsoll line here. What is alternative tonnage? So sometimes you load a full cargo which takes it down to normal load line. Other times you may load full cargo of low density of light commodity. So ship owner can request modified tonnage in addition to normal. And a special certificate is issued showing both the tonnages. And the details of vessel are included in publication and the register published in Lloyd Register of Shipping. So modified tonnage may apply to a vessel as an alternative to normal tonnage. And the same criteria for modified tonnage would apply. Once again, a tonnage mark would be used, but in this case, it is placed at a distance below the line of the second deck from above. So this distance depends on length and depth of the vessel. It is common for tonnage mark to be closer to the keel than deepest load line. तो ये थोड़ा और नीचे हो जाता rather than above होता है. So in this situation, tonnage mark is not like badge जो इधर लगाया गया, ऐसे नहीं रहेगा. ये modified tonnage. Alternative will not be like this. So if the tonnage mark is not submerged, the modified tonnage applies for both purposes, such as harbor and pilot duties. तो अगर वो एक और नीचे एक मार्क होता है, अगर वो अप्लाई नहीं किया तो फिर ये वाला अप्लाई करेगा for port dues and all. So if it is submerged because of the loading of the vessel, the normal duties, normal gross and net tonnages will determine the various charges on the vessel. Port authorities react unfavorably to the system and the revenue depends on the summation of the mark. Submersion was variable and unpredictable, yet the vessel's earning capacity was not affected if the cargo was light and bulky. So normal load lines were not submerged, not was the tonnage mark. So basically, एक alternative tonnage was इसके अलावा एक और tonnage mark लगाते थे, which was less than this. तो अगर वो समझ हुआ तो फिर ये आएगा, otherwise उसको ले लेंगे. So that was an alternative tonnage so that you could load more cargo but still apply with the modified tonnage. So that is alternative tonnage. So we've done excluded, included हो गया है. So now next time we'll be starting with your that is subdivision, load line and passenger ships. That topic fully we'll be doing. So those CS, what is CS criterion and all we'll be doing. So next class we'll be doing all that. इसमें है क्या नहीं इसमें है. नोट्स में तो आपको सारा भेज दिया है. ये पैसेंजर शिप सब डिवीजन क्या है and what is C1, C2, C3 and how do you calculate subdivision of passenger ship. What is floodable length and what is margin line. We'll be doing all this. CS क्या है, क्या formula है. So we'll be doing this. And what is permeability, how to calculate your factor of subdivision. So these calculations we'll be doing next class.